The story begins with a girl called Koyuki visiting the grave of her brother, blaming herself for his death. She sees a strange monster chased away by a sword-wielding man named Kiri. He scolds his womanizing brother, called Victor, for failing to follow their plan. Kiri lies to Koyuki that what she saw was just special effects for a movie. When he learns she wants to wish for her brother back, he warns her to forget about it. He grabs his brother and leaves, but Victor throws her a playing card inviting her to see the truth. After Koyuki's lonely graduation, she goes to the clock tower and spots Ms. Emily, even younger than before. She then meets Victor, who encourages her to make a wish. As she does, a large monster suddenly appears. Kiri saves her just in time and scolds his brother for endangering civilians. Kiri explains that the monster is a horolog which consumes time. They watch Ms. Emily rapidly grow younger until she becomes dust. Victor activates his Oath of Time, empowering his cards. Kiri explains that he and his brother are called Chrono's rulers. When Koyuki insists on wishing for her brother back, Victor shows her the bite mark of a horolog, which slowly eats away at his time when he tried wishing for their mother back. Victor uses Speed Up, a dangerous technique that borrows the user's time in exchange for drastically speeding up his movements and attacks. The horolog is vanquished, and to Kiri's relief, only a few hours of Victor's memories were erased. Victor reassures Koyuki that even though her brother is gone, the precious memories she has of him remain with her. It is revealed that Victor becomes one day younger with each passing day. In reality, he is 39 years old and he is Kiri's father. Victor and Kiri travel to the casino town of C'est La Vie. Kiri finds the man who stole Victor's wallet in an alleyway earlier, and the man is filled with regret due to his gambling problem. The commotion draws several horologs to the area, however Kiri obliterates them. A giant white horolog appears and huge mobs are drawn towards it. Victor reappears and together they attempt to slay the horolog, which speaks to them, revealing that it was the one that stole Victor's time. Victor loses his composure and recklessly attacks, but he is stopped by a girl named Mina claiming to be his wife. Another man, called Aches, orders the horolog to withdraw. Aches then transforms back into his human form and blends in among the crowd. Victor is upset that Aches got away, but Mina snatches his journal, forcing him and Kiri to chase her. She demonstrates the proper way to use the Oath of Time, simultaneously activating the slowdown and speed up to propel a blade of wind that narrowly misses Kiri. Victor manages to restrain her, and after threatening her, she returns it. Victor is still suspicious, but she shows them her own horolog bite. Aboard a train, Victor and Mina become lovey-dovey with each other. She plans to bring them an organization called Chronos, where Victor once worked. Mina later explains to Kiri that Chronos invented the Oaths of Time, and gear such as his are old models. The first Oath of Time is called a Unique, which is attached to Victor. It enables a user to not only manipulate the time of objects, but also that of living things. Kiri points out that she is unaffected by her horolog bite even without a Unique, but she does not offer an explanation. The three arrive at Chronos, greeted by Snake, the leader of the technology division. He is quite weird, as his Oath of Time uses high school girl uniforms as a medium. He inspects Victor's time wound and remarks it is what Chronos has been searching for all this time. They are brought inside Chronos, an institution created over 2,000 years ago. Snake suddenly binds them with school uniforms, as it is the Master's intention to harness his Unique to swiftly end the war that has claimed so many of their comrades' lives. Victor cancels the effect of the uniforms, having expected this betrayal. He and Kiri waltz out of the base while an enraged Mina, who was not informed that Victor would be captured, fights off the members of Chronos. Victor and Kiri make it outside, but Victor drops back below and prevents Kiri from following him. While Victor searches for his records, Kiri faces off against a fire-wielding Chronos ruler called Blaze. Victor enters the records room and finds a record of his exploits working for Chronos, but is unable to read the text. He does find a picture of him and Mina together, confirming they were in fact married. A woman walks by and recognizes him, and after he holds her at card point, she offers him a drink. He asks for information on how to get back his lost time, so she starts from the beginning. Chronos was the god of time who spent a millennia battling the horologs. The surviving monsters live to this day to wipe out the remaining Chronos rulers. He replies that he does not believe in gods, and she replies that one is standing right before him. The girl introduces herself as Ace Radar, a descendant of Chronos. She claims that the Unique in Victor's chest is rightfully hers, which she explains increases the range and strength of her powers. Despite this, Ace Radar as a god still maintains control over all creation. Mina arrives to see Ace Radar heavily injure Victor's chest, and she flies into a rage. She had lost her mother once before, but she is too weak to stop the time god. Kiri tries to save Victor, but Blaze keeps him pinned down. Mina attacks Ace Radar again, but the latter slows down the time in her leg, warning her that forcing it would injure it greatly. She continues her attack despite this risk and notices she is unable to activate slowdown and speed up at the same time. She is suddenly stopped by Victor, who is still alive. Victor fights back with a speed up, Ace shot, and realizes his time is not being spent. Ace Radar explains that the unique in his chest was damaged in a fight against Horologs over 2,000 years ago, and all she did was to repair it. Ace Radar only means to test Victor's ability to wield unique. If he beats her, then he can keep the unique. If not, she will rip it out and take care of the Horologs herself. Victor's card volley is deflected by a wall of debris. He then unleashes an attack now harnessing both slowdown and speed up, like modern Oath of Time models. He remarks that even though she is a god, they are both bound by the same rules in controlling time. Kiri is pummeled by Blaze, but he manages to escape. Kiri calls Blaze's whole villain facade shallow. Blaze explains that as a child, he had been virtuous and well-liked by his whole village. But when his friend set fire to a windmill, Blaze ended up taking the blame for it and was soon ostracized by everyone, realizing how unfair the world is. Kiri soon fights back and Blaze is startled that he can utilize both slowdown and speed up. Kiri reveals that he had swapped out his Oath of Time with Mina's. However, even though Kiri manages to injure him, Blaze says someone without a goal cannot defeat him, and Kiri explains that his goal is to get back his father's lost time. Blaze suddenly bursts into tears, touched by his story, and declares him as his new younger brother. Kiri is extremely confused. Meanwhile, Victor has captured Ace Radar in a chain of cards. He brings out his strongest set of cards, the Royal Flush, but she suddenly escapes and begins moving at blinding speeds. Victor cannot keep up and suffers her finishing move, the Coiled Dragon Twister. Victor barely defends himself in time with his cards. He lays out 4 cards of his Royal Flush, but he says his trump card, the Ace, is missing. Ace Radar attacks him knowing that one of his strengths is misdirection and delaying tactics. However, her final attack is suddenly slowed down and Victor reveals that he had attached slowed down card scraps to her body. He reveals a shredded ace, his trump card. Ace Radar admits defeat and sees him worthy of wielding unique, welcoming him back to Kronos. Kiri meets Snake, who explains that the attack was all a test. He confirms that they have Victor's records, but it was written in code they have yet to decipher. Kiri enters the technology room and sees Victor surrounded by women he has history with. He tells Snake of Aix, the Horolog they encountered, and he replies that he had never met a talking Horolog before, but confirms that they slowly gain sentience after devouring thousands of years worth of time. It is possible to take back stolen time by slaying a Horolog, but he grimly reveals that the time limit for doing so is a mere 60 seconds after the time is stolen. Kiri later finds Victor has deciphered his journal, its code using the names of the girls he was with earlier. They learn that 6 days before his time was stolen, he traveled to his hometown of Calgers. Intending to return there, he bids farewell to Ace Radar, promising to return the unique in a month's time, successful or not. He asks if Mina is truly his wife, and she reveals a DNA analysis that reveals neither Kiri nor Mina is related to him by blood. She explains that as a descendant of Kronos, Mina and Kiri's DNA are only set in stone once they are 18. Ace Radar asks him to leave Mina, as she would be distracted from her obligations as an agent of Kronos. He swears that if Mina stops pursuing him, he will not chase her. After eavesdropping, Mina is heartbroken. As they leave Kronos, Snake dubs Victor as the 3rd Guardian, Ace Ruler, and Kiri as the 7th Guardian, Splash Ruler. He explains that the title of Guardian is assigned to the top 12 fighters of Kronos. Both Mina and Blaze are also Guardians. Mina and Victor quarrel, as she sees his love for her as mere duty and is not genuine. The atmosphere is heavy until Blaze appears, who insists on coming with them. Aboard a speeding airplane, the Kronos Guardians are attacked by a man named Bill wielding a ring that summons a Horolog, Bahamut. Kiri suspects it is a 1,000-year class at the very least, and he decides to use Snake's app designed to analyze Horologs. To his exasperation, it requires him to say "I love high school girl panties." He refuses to say something so embarrassing, so Victor says it instead. To their horror, Bahamut is a 38-year class Horolog, far stronger than anticipated. Bill appears to treat reality as a game, picking apart the Kronos Guardians' stereotypes. Mina appears to mortally wound him, but he appears to feel no pain. He explains that he lived as a recluse, living off his mother's kindness without a care. However, his mother works herself to death and he regrets being a freeloader. He was given a ring, with the promise of bringing his mother back if he steals enough time. Suddenly, one of Victor's cards shatters his ring and Bill loses control of Bahamut. They crash into the forest below, where Bill is overcome with grief and regret at the loss of his mother. When Victor tries to reassure him that he still has memories of his mother, Bill laments that he never once said thank you to her. He trudges into the forest and Victor lets him go. Victor wishes he can express his emotions as freely as others, but for some reason he is unable to. Kiri senses the pain within his father as they approach Calgers. They arrive at Calgers and Victor is nostalgic upon seeing many of the old landmarks in his neighborhood. Victor is surprised to see his parents, who are supposedly dead. Mina inspects a newspaper and finds that the year is 1980, 34 years in the past. Time has somehow reversed in Kalgers. Victor approaches his parents, but Kiri reminds him that time never flows backwards, and that something is wrong with the town. The next day, Kiri agrees to humor Victor's sentimentality. Kiri learns that Mina and Ace Radar are not actually sisters but only share the blood of Kronos. She confides with Kiri that she wants a future together with Victor and despises his hometown, which keeps him tied down to the past. Victor is pleased to learn his parents, Alexander and Eve, are the same generous people he remembers them to be. They decide to stay with them for the time being, where they meet the 5-year-old Victor, who acts rude and impolite to his parents. Blaze wants to discipline him, but Victor stops him. Victor later visits his mother and sees him drawing something as a gift to 5-year-old Victor. As he descends the staircase, Kiri asks him if he means to receive the drawing and atone for his mistakes, but he replies that he already knows what the drawing is, a depiction of him years from now as a Victor. Kiri tells him he is being selfish, but Victor angrily replies that he understands nothing, and from now on they will investigate Kalgers separately. While investigating the town's outskirts, Kiri, Mina, and Blaze encounter a horolog, which Kiri guesses is under someone's control. After earlier confirming that nobody in town summoned a horolog, he suspects someone else is responsible. Meanwhile, Victor rushes to help his father when Eve's condition worsens. When they arrive, the 5-year-old Victor has already stabilized her condition, however she is in need of a blood transfusion. Kiri asks Mina why she chose to go with him, and she replies that she wishes to free Victor from the fake happiness of Kalgers. Alexander says that they need an AB-negative blood transfusion, an extremely rare blood type. The young Victor reluctantly gives his blood, despite him missing an important exam. However, his blood alone is insufficient, so Victor volunteers his despite him knowing all of this is fake. Eve awakens and Alexander is overjoyed. Victor tells his younger self to go see his mother, but he complains that he missed an exam and says he'd be better off without his parents. Victor loses his composure and slaps him, and Alexander asks him to leave. Victor is shaken as he confronts his own immaturity and naivete. He sees a vision of Kiri and Mina who encourage him to let go of his past. He then meets his younger self who tells him he is weak. Meanwhile, Kiri, Mina, and Blaze find a mysterious banner keeping Kalgers 34 years in the past. Kiri deduces that the town is repeating a single day, and it appears as though the horologs are protecting the town. Two individuals, Kyosuke and Reiko, confirm his theory. The two attack Kiri and Mina as they are getting in the way of Master's experiment. Blaze soon arrives to support his little brother and invites Reiko to a duel, while Kyosuke is left to deal with Kiri and Mina. To their surprise, he addresses her as Nana, implying he knows something about her past that they do not. Meanwhile, a despondent Victor meets a strange man who was earlier at the clinic. The truth becomes apparent when he devours Bill, who had staggered into Kalgers. The man reveals himself to be Aix in disguise and explains that the town is trapped in a time loop so he can perform various experiments on humans, such as testing Alexander's generosity and selflessness, so that he may better understand humans. Aix shows Victor even more experiments he performed on his family, but his confusion grows. If Victor hates his parents so much, why does he mourn their deaths? Victor angrily attacks him, but Aix effortlessly stops his strongest attack. He clarifies he is not here to fight but to understand. He then offers Victor a choice: kill him and restore time to Kalgers, or let him go and let the blissful times continue. Victor hesitates but chooses his duty as a Kronos ruler. Aix senses he still has doubt in his heart, but Victor is saved by Kiri. Mina fights Kyosuke and his horolog, Fudoku. She destroys his ring to end his control over Fudoku, but he has the real ring hidden. Her body suddenly goes limp and he explains that Fudoku has consumed all sorts of poisonous beings, and as a horolog he gains those properties. Kyosuke begins torturing Mina, but she suddenly breaks free, explaining that her blood of Kronos purifies all horologs, including all poisons and toxins associated with them. She creates a vacuum around Kyosuke, choking him to death. Meanwhile, Blaze is confused why the old Reiko is holding his own and is shocked to see his body fused with a horolog. Reiko explains that as a child his muscles had atrophied, but His Majesty saved his life by giving him a new body. Blaze is moved by his story and Majesty's compassion, and the two gain mutual respect. However, Reiko is a formidable foe and Blaze is overwhelmed. Blaze makes a daring comeback, detonating several explosions around Reiko, obliterating the horolog fused with him. He apologizes to Reiko as he also has something to fight for. Kiri fights Aix alone, but his water blades seem useless against his horologs that consume everything in its path. He manages to injure him with a surprise attack, but to their horror, Aix simply eats his own time to restore his body. Kiri is then badly injured by a horolog, but before Victor can help, he is suddenly dragged into his psyche, held back by his dependence to his past. However, remembering his mother's words, he shakes away all doubt and breaks free from the chains binding him to his past. Victor's attack injures Aches, but he hesitates, reminded that if Aches is killed, then his family will disappear as well. However, he has finally accepted that his family is already dead, and punches Aches using a sped-up card in his fist. Aches begins spitting out the town's time, restoring it to its true state. Kiri encourages Victor to see his mother one last time. He finds his mother drawing, and as she begins explains its meaning. He says that it is so Vic can grow up to be a victor, relying only on his own ability. Eve smiles and says that the pen she is using was given to her by Alexander, who used it throughout his life. She explains the true meaning of a victor. Success and victory is not achieved by yourself, but by depending on those around you. She plans to give the pen to Victor when he grows up, to remind him that he is never alone. Victor now understands the significance of his name, and Eve suddenly gives the pen. Victor is surprised, revealing that she knew it was him all along. She is glad he has grown up to be a wonderful young man, surrounded by friends. She embraces him, glad to have been his mother. Victor cries and apologizes to her, regretting all the times he mistreated them, as she disappears into thin air. Aches suddenly reappears, having understood Victor's feelings a little better, as being one of debt and regret. To Victor's horror, Aches returns Eve to life and kills her again. Enraged, Victor punches him, and the rest of the Guardians arrive. They decide to finish Aches off once and for all. Aches grows 2 black wings that dissolve anything it touches. Victor ingeniously finds a way to circumvent this, and the 4 Guardians begin laying the beatdown on Aches. They think they have won, but Aches remarks that his human body is far too frail to accommodate his true power, and he reveals his true form. Nina fights Aches alone, as her Chronos blood prevents him from consuming her completely. Kiri comes up with a plan, exploiting Aches' ability to eat anything he sees. He uses his water and Victor's cards. They create a mirror that causes Aches to eat his own time, leaving him vulnerable to attack. But Aches simply heals himself and moves their target, his eating organ, somewhere else in his body. Victor comes up with a dangerous plan, pointing out that if Calgers could be restored to its original state, then horologs have the ability to preserve the time they eat. Although Kiri is hesitant, Victor says it all hinges on how much they trust each other. Victor leaps into Aches, using his unique to undo his defenses at the cost of his own time spilling out. This gives Kiri, Mina, and Blaze the chance to unleash their attacks all at once, and they finally destroy Aches. The stolen time begins to spill out, but to their horror, Victor's body is gone. Mina attempts to prevent his time from spilling out, but an oath of time only works on objects. Victor's spirit watches over them, but his parents say his time to join them has not yet come. Seeing his wife, son, and friend mourn his passing, he returns his spirit to his body. They are all relieved to see him back, and Kiri hands him the pen Eve had planned to give him. The Guardians board a train back home, and Kiri says their job is not yet done. Victor does not have his original body back yet, which means Aches is still alive. Victor remarks that time that has passed will never return, however you still have the memories you have of those that have gone before you. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.